responsive and that is equitable. Thank you, everyone. We didn't even get 50% of the budget that we asked for this year. And this is budget for recovery, for crisis, for pandemic recovery. This isn't like some crazy budget that we put together. All the people over here, we spent a whole year working on this budget. And we presented one of the most thorough budgets to the mayor's office, and we barely got a response to our ask.
Thank you, Larissa. Now I would like to invite Mario to speak about immigrant services and the FRCs.
Thank you, Susana. Good morning, everyone. So San Francisco is a city that's made a commitment to advance equity and justice. But today, I come to you with a very heavy heart. Because today, there are thousands of children that don't know if they have a future in our city. Today, there's a family that's having to make choices between paying the rent, buying food, and being able to buy diapers for their babies. And today, there are families that are in depression, that are underemployed, that are unemployed in our community. So I ask you today, where is there equity and justice for our community? That's why we're here. And we know this city can do it. This city is resilient. It's overcome natural disasters, wars, recessions, and yes, it will recover from COVID. But we can't call ourselves a great city if you leave our community behind, or any low-income community behind. And that's why we're here. We're not just fighting for our families or immigrant communities. We're fighting for every child, every family in the city, because when we thrive, you thrive. Think about that. This is not about our children. This is our children. It's all of our children. If we succeed, you succeed. If we fail, the city will fail. Simple as that. So we ask, please join us and support us so that our community can have hopes and dreams just like everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario. Now I would like to invite Ivan to speak about the essential hubs.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ivan Corrado. I'm the manager for the Latino Task Force, and it's an honor to be here in solidarity with all these workers, all these people who have consistently put themselves in risk to make sure that we deliver services at our essential service hubs in the Mission, in the Bayview, in Excelsior, and now we've added the Pacific Islander Hub. So we stand in solidarity not only with ourselves and the Latino community, but all communities in San Francisco. The 12,000 people that we serve every year since the pandemic has started. The 12,000 people that walk through our doors wondering, how am I going to feed my daughter? How am I going to feed my son? How am I going to take care of my grandchildren? The multi-generational families and households that we serve that are running short on supplies every single day come to our essential service hubs. The people who don't know where to turn because my immigration status makes me afraid to go and even ask for help, because my immigration status is not well received in the system, because my immigration status and the way that I look and the way that I present myself has taught me to hide. So we represent the hidden community that's not here because they're working in your restaurants. We represent the hidden communities that are the domestic workers that are taking care of the children that are filling the tech facilities back up. So San Francisco does not recover without us. San Francisco's economy does not thrive without our people. So that leaves us short-handed, because in our multi-generational families, the one person that's working does not make enough to make sure that supplies are in the home. So our essential service hubs fill the gap. They continue to fill the gap. We want to make sure that essential service hubs are funded, not cut. Right now, we're looking at a 50% cut in essential services, and that's unacceptable. So what we ask is the mayor, the city, and everyone involved in the budget, make sure that our investment is whole. Keep our communities as is. We want to make sure that our families, our workers, and all the residents in our essential neighborhoods and the ones that are most in need get the services that they deserve. So please keep the mission open, keep Excelsior open, keep the Bayview open so that we can make sure that we have essential services for all of our residents. Thank you. And thank you to all these people who continue to work in our essential service hubs.
Now I would like to invite Sharon for housing.
Hi everyone. First of all, I'm gonna start with a personal note. When I started working for the LTF, tears of joy came to my eyes because I was going to join a team of heroes who were working during the pandemic and did not care if they will get sick because we were to show up for our community members. Now, for housing, I think that the biggest lesson that the pandemic gave us is that we are fighting a lot of social diseases, not only COVID, and housing is one of them. Not having accessibility to housing, affordable housing, and our big battle with rental relief as these families were trying to apply and get these funds because they were not working and because they were at danger of working and getting out there, so therefore they were applying for these essential services. We are going to see a big wave of evictions. We can already see it happening right now in our communities, and it's not because of the ELIS Act, although that is another added disease, but we're going to start seeing a lot of displacement happening in our communities for those folks who have not been able to pay their rent, even though they have applied for the California Rental Relief Program, the San Francisco Rental Relief Program, which were great programs. But in general, it has shown us the bigger problem that our people cannot afford to stay in their homes. A lot of families got sick because they were sharing rooms with other families. They could not quarantine in their own room. They did not have that luxury to quarantine on their own room with their own bathrooms. With our team, we have served more than 2,000 families to apply for these essential services. Families who otherwise would not know that these services are out there. Because almost 80% out of those individuals told us that when they were sitting right across of us, filling out these applications. We are a direct access for our families, for our youth, for our single parents who are just trying to make ends meet. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they said that the country right now is more food insecurity than when the pandemic started. And that is because of inflation, because the country might be heading out to recession, and we need to be there for them. A lot of our families are undocumented. I am undocumented myself. And these resource hubs are essential. They need to stay. They cannot go away. So as we continue working, we need to remind ourselves of our collective work, because that's what is going to keep us together. We need to stay together. We cannot work separately. Porque juntos venceremos.
Now I would like to ask Ivan again to come and talk a little bit about health.
Good afternoon again, everyone. So we come to this press conference with a heavy heart, because this community has gained ancestors in this pandemic that we didn't ask for. We've gained ancestors. We've had folks transition on that had already been suffering health disparities, and COVID came and took them from us. We have grandmothers, grandfathers, aunts, uncles, co-workers, even children that we've served, that we've tested in our community sites, that we've worked with in our nonprofits, that we've held their hands on field trips, that we've reassured at different points in their lives that their kids, their families were going to thrive, right? And we come with heavy hearts because some of those people have transitioned. So as of today, at our community sites, we have a 13% positive rate at the mission site at 701 Alabama. We have a 21% positive rate at our 20 and Norton site in Excelsior. COVID is decimating our community. There's a 27% positive rate at our Unidos en Salud site on 24th and Mission. So COVID is here. COVID is impacting our community. And for the city to say that there is no investment in community testing, there is no investment in community diagnosis, that there's no investment in community support is unacceptable. We have been on the front lines at our testing sites, outreaching to people in our communities, walking to their homes, knocking on their doors, and bringing essential services and the right to test, the right to vaccinate, and the right to know what is next for them if they are in a health crisis. We need that right preserved. We've earned it. We need that right preserved because these people, our community wellness teams, our outreach workers, our promotoras, our folks who are volunteers at our sites continue to come and make sure that those places are open, in spite of the risk to their own health. In spite of the risk to their own health, they make sure that doors are open, that pathways are clear, and that the systems that create disparities for us, they do the work of maneuvering those systems. They do the work of bringing those systems and those resources closer to us, to your grandmother, to your cousin, to your child, to your neighbor. So if you believe that health is a right, then fund it. If you believe that inequities are real, then let's get rid of them. Let's work to get rid of them because health inequities were here before the pandemic. Health inequities have increased through the pandemic, and they will continue for us. It is unacceptable to hear today and to tell these folks that San Francisco does not believe in them, that San Francisco does not want to invest in their work, and that San Francisco wants to make the pandemic disappear because we're not talking about it. But again, 13% positive in the Mission, 21% positive in Excelsior, 27% positive on 24th and Cap. So the pandemic is here. We want to make sure that our therapists are funded. We have folks that are suffering from COVID. We have families who have been stressed. We have families who continue to be under stress. So we want to make sure that our community health and the safety net that exists for this recovery is us. We are the safety net for this recovery. We are the safety net for this economy. So fund health now. Fund our work and don't tell us that a divestment is good for us. Don't tell us that a minimal investment is going to be good for us, because anything less than preserving our existing resources and in fact giving us more is nothing but unacceptable. Thank you.
Now we'll be speaking on behalf of our small businesses. Our small businesses were the ones that stayed open when Safeway had lines around the corner. People would go to our small businesses to get their goods. When toilet paper ran out in the big stores, the corner stores had them. And now that we're ready to go into the economic recovery, they're saying that there will be no technical assistance for our small businesses. That our small businesses should be able to compete with the Louis store, with the Coach store, with Dior, with Gucci. Protecting those stores is important. They attract tourists. But how are you going to serve the tourists that come to this city when our essential workers are not able to work? How are you going to have any kind of hospitality services without our essential workers? How are you going to continue to serve our communities if all of our small businesses are closed? An economic recovery cannot happen if it does not include our most vulnerable. And we are here to stand for our most vulnerable. A small business need us now, it needed us through the pandemic, and it needs us through the recovery. We as a city cannot recover only with luxury businesses, only with luxury hotels. We need our small businesses. So I ask you, when you go and you're thirsty and you buy your water, thank the people that have been working through the whole pandemic. They're the ones that are sacrificing their own health to provide for us. When you go and you look in a restaurant and you see the people cooking for you and serving you food, thank them. And remember, when you look at us, when you look at the beautiful black and brown faces, remember, we are essential, but we are not sacrificial. So thank you. And now I'm going to call Ernesto to talk to you a little bit about workforce.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for coming. My colleague Ernesto Martinez wasn't able to come in today, so I'm speaking on his behalf. My name is Omar Del Real. I am the General Manager of Mission Hiring Home. Along with my co-chair, Ms. Rupa Barajas, excuse me. When the pandemic first started, there goes my speech. When the pandemic first started, come back and say. When the pandemic first started back in March of 2020, never has there been so much movement of community-based organizations who came together with one purpose, to serve the community. Never in the history of San Francisco have so many members of the community got together to need support. While the tech industry was sheltering in place, it was the Latino task force who showed up, who volunteered, who put their lives at risk, who came together and started the community hub to pass out resources, to give out food, to give out opportunity, to give out rent relief and house services and housing services. And it's not over yet. We're still here together because the community needs us. The people behind me volunteered to help the community. During the pandemic, our community organizations have helped those who have lost their employment. We offered training, we offered stipends, we offered universal basic income to those who needed it because they lost their work. And they have not returned to work. I'm talking about local members, local union members who have not returned to full-time status, who are not receiving their full-time benefits. They are barely getting 3 hours, 5 hours a week to work shifts. That is not sustainable. Some of these folks that we're helping out are the only money makers in their families. And they are asking us to continue to have our doors open so we can continue to support them. Throughout the Latino Task Force Workforce Employment Committee, we have sponsored workforce programs. We've also had job fairs where people were able to come in here and earn new workforce and enter new sectors. And only through continued services through the Latino Task Force can this ever continue. So please, Mayor London Breed, supervisors of San Francisco, and citizens of San Francisco who are wanting to vote, continue to fund the Latino Task Force, because when you fund the Latino Task Force, you're not only serving this community, but you're serving us all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now I'd like to call El Mayor de la Misión, Roberto Hernandez, to talk to us about the food and the inequalities there.
Buenos días. Buenos días. You gotta be heard. Buenos días. Let them know you're here. Buenos días. So we're gonna start off. You know, Cesar Chavez taught us that when we organize and organize and organize and organize, we win. So today is the beginning of our continuing to organize, because we as a community had to step up and take the responsibility of what our government failed to do for us during this COVID crisis. We woke up, we rose up, we started the Latino Task Force, we started the Mission Food Hub, we started employment, we started educating and taking care of our children, which the school district failed, which the Department of Public Health failed, which the Department of Human Services failed to do. We were the ones that came together. And it was the power of the people. It was us organizing and organizing and working 5 days, 6 days, 7 days a week, 24 hours, having phone conversations at midnight, having Zoom meetings at 11 o'clock at night, at 7 in the morning. And how dare they today just think that they could just end what we started. Food comes from Mother Earth. Our vegetables, our fruits, and they're picked by our people, by brown, beautiful people. And food is very sacred. And it is a human right for each and every one of us to have alimentos. That is a human basic right. But somebody decided somewhere through our history to make profit off of food. And when you look back at the history, if you grow tomates and you grow aguacates and you grow manzanas and I grow mint, we exchange. But somebody decided that they're going to make money off of food. Today, a gallon of milk is $6. And it's watered down milk. It's not even real milk. I grew up drinking real milk, straight from a cow. That's why I'm so strong. And I look so good. And I got good bones. And I can talk loud. And I can feel good. And I can fight. And we'll continue to fight. So it es un derecho humano poder comer. Y nadie tiene el derecho de decirnos a nosotros que no podemos darle comida a nuestra gente. You know, I found out in the last year, in this current fiscal year, there was at the Mission Food Hub, they told me that they could not and they did not give us all the money. Ay, déjala. God bless you. And we pray for people like that. We don't hate people like that. We pray for people like that. Porque están enfermos. Es una enfermedad. El racismo es una enfermedad. But let me get back to what I was trying to say. They told us that they did not have enough money for food this current fiscal year. So I had to go to the governor and the senator and get $1 million from the state of California to make sure our people got food, in addition to what HS aid gave us. And I had to go to foundations and ask for help. And then I had to go to private donors and ask them for help. And people gave to us. Well, I just found out 3 weeks ago that HSA has a $21 million unspent money in their current fiscal budget. That is criminal. That is criminal that we had to go around begging for money and hustling for money when the city had the money. And when you look at the Department of Public Health, look how much unspent money that they have. And you look at all these other departments. So don't tell us you ain't got money. It's sick. There's some sick people in this government. And you know what? They talk about, well, we're going to give you a grant. How many of you heard that? We're going to give you a grant. We're going to give you a grant. Bullshit. That's our tax dollars. So don't get sucked into this. We're going to give you these miserias. That's our money, our tax dollars. How many of you pay taxes? Look at that. How many of you get to decide on how your taxes get paid? There it is. So today, and moving forward, we will continue to fight. I'm hearing you. We're going to continue to fight. We're going to continue to fight. Vamos a seguir con la lucha. Vamos a seguir peleando. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. Sí se puede.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. This concludes our press conference. And just remember that when we need to recover, we need to have strategies that are community-led, community-driven, and community-implemented. Thank you.
Can you give us a breakdown of what this rally was
We're
about?
here
Why are we
today.
here?
Today on Monday, June 13th, the Latino community in San Francisco, the Latino Task Force, the Latino Parity and Equity Coalition, basically came together in response to the mayor's June 1st budget that essentially, for what we were able to tell, did not respond to our budgetary ask that we have advanced as a community of more than 32 organizations that have worked so hard this past 2 years, not just on pandemic response, but also on working and coordinating with the city for the citywide response. And we were highly disappointed. We're actually outraged to see that all the food money, all the health money, all the critical investments related to COVID response were decimated, were essentially cut to zero. And we didn't even get funded half of what the budget request was this year. Keep in mind that the money that the Latino community has been able to secure additional resources from the city since the pandemic started doesn't really sum more than $50 million, and I'm being generous. We have come every year to the mayor with a budget ask of about $63 to $65 million. And every year, while we've had many wins and we've been happy to see investments in important areas, she's never met us where we came as a community and said, this is what we feel we can handle in terms of service providers. We're not the end-all be-all, but we know we have a strong footprint, we're relevant, we're responsive, we're timely, and we're at the front lines of this community response. And we're highly disappointed. The mayor didn't even sustain the current investments at a time when we're seeing another spike in COVID spread. So I feel like it's ludicrous to dismantle the health systems that, as a colleague said, we built them, so we're going to keep them. To not have any regard, to not have any kind of level of coordination, more importantly, to tell us what her vision is. And in lieu of those services that we as a community provide, what is her proposal for COVID response? We know, I as a nonprofit executive director, that our staff and our community have relied heavily on the community testing sites to avoid, to mitigate the spread of the virus. And our staff have gone every week until the self-home tests were available, have relied heavily on the sites on 24th Street on Alabama, myself included. Every week going there to get tested, a low barrier testing site. I have walked community members there. Our staff have taken community members there. So these services have been critical, and it just feels like such a lack of recognition, not only for the critical role that we as an organized community of service providers have played in actually essentially leading on the city's response with COVID to those most disproportionately impacted African American, Latino community, migrant community, and to just cut it out and not have an offer. I don't see the offer of what the promise for Latino equity and recovery is in San Francisco. So that's what we're here for today. This is, like Roberto said, this is the kickoff of our continued organizing. We have consistently had to bring them to the table. And it's been incredibly painful and draining, energy-wise, to know that when the city could have been proactively partnering with us and treating us as an asset, as a reliable partner, we've had to do cartwheels and headstands to somehow prove our worthiness when the work speaks for itself. So that's what we're here for today. La lucha sigue. Vamos a seguir reclamando. We have a $60+ million budget ask, and we're going to fight for it.
So, in spite of what Roberto alluded, that the money is there. There is money.
That was the other outrageous thing. The Department of Human Services, HSA, essentially just as the budget has been announced, it became publicly known that they had a $22 million underspending, particularly I think in that item. And so, yeah, it is outrageous that people who are like literally volunteering their time to go chase the money, to feed 12,000 people plus, had to do all that when the city was sending the money. And it's important to note that the head of the Department of Human Services, Trent Rohr, he didn't even visit the hubs until more than a year after the pandemic had started, despite their critical response in the community, their critical role. So here we are, we're going to fight for it, and we're going to, and in our case with CARECEN, our ask is related to violence prevention. We hear all about the Honduran kids and the tender line talking about the Central American kids, but does the mayor pretend, or does the budget office pretend that we can do that with one case manager? I don't see how that's possible. So that's what we're here for. That's what we're here to fight for.
Also, the other thing is that it's pretty white.
I'm gonna get in the picture. Sorry.
Okay, go.
Come on, Omar. Come on,
Take all that
everybody.
shit on
Come
your
on,
face.
Kathy. Come on, everybody. Look at
Take all that shit on your face.
Look at my camera. Just saying. I'm gonna be the one posting.
Ready? 1, 2, and 3.
We're streaming live, folks.
Streaming live.
We're streaming live on CARECEN Facebook page. ¡Una bulla! ¡Una bulla! ¿Qué queremos? ¿Qué queremos? ¿Qué queremos? ¿Qué queremos? What do we want? What do we want? When? When? ¿Cuándo? ¿Cuándo? ¿Cuándo?